up, everyone? It's Jason for this week's report. It's actually kind of late. I was actually out of town in Puerto Rico for the summer, or for spring break, if you can tell by my sexy tan. So I was not able to record last week's report, so what I've decided to do is hopefully I'll get it published tonight. It'll be my sort of reacts to GDC news, VRDC news. I was not there, so I can't give the real rundown of it, but I took, I think, 4 stories from it for this report, and I'll have another one up on Friday for this week's news. So I guess I'll go ahead and do the weekly update for Re60. I was able to get some footage in Puerto Rico at a pretty cool spot that we went to for cliff diving and like rope swinging, so I should have that up hopefully this week, maybe next week depending on how busy I am. But let's go ahead and get started with the news. So the first story is in regards with Robo Recall, which is a new VR shooter from Epic Games. So let's see. It's exclusive to Oculus Touch for now, but I believe they said it was available for HTC VIVE. Epic announced that they're going to be in full support for mods. The biggest mod was the locomotion mod. So it's I have this guy he's been playing it, and it's creating a less restrictive movement system for the game, which is pretty exciting. Having that support that developers are giving, kind of the freedom that they're giving the players to customize different control schemes is pretty neat. So that should be I think it's an interesting step for video games in that, because everyone's still kind of learning how to control these kind of games without making people sick from the motion. It should be pretty interesting to see if this system works, especially for first-person shooters. So yeah, but it has full mod support, so we'll be able to you see these the mod supports for Skyrim, for all those open world games, so I think it's going to be pretty fun to see what kind of creative things come out of this, and if future developers will implement this into their games. Alright, next on my list is the announcement, or I guess people got hands-on for the Acer developer kit for Microsoft's holographic VR headset. And they announced that this headset would be available for Xbox Scorpio, which is I guess it's sort of the next generation Xbox system. It's cool that they're hopping on board with VR finally. I love the design of these mixed reality headsets, you can call them. The 2 cameras in front that I discussed in my first report. I'm reading the article from Upload VR Now. He's saying that, let me see who wrote this. Yeah, Ian. He is saying, I'm pretending like I know him, I don't know him, but Ian's saying that the units will run at 90 frames per second. For the developer kits. I guess the test one ran at 60 frames per second, but 90 frames per second, that's actually huge. Not sure if there are any current VR headsets that run at that, but that's exciting. It should really help with the sense of presence for games being developed on there. I think other than that, it's going to be compatible with the new Xbox, which is always exciting. So once those roll out, it should be very exciting to see what kind of stuff they do. With HoloLens coming out in 2-3 years to consumers, I'm glad that Microsoft is taking an initiative to push something out. Hopefully this year, but I don't know what the timeline is between when dev kits come out and when the actual consumer model comes out. but hopefully it'll be soon. There should be some pretty exciting stuff. Still waiting on some more information with Lenovo, HP. I forgot who the other one was. I did a report on just kind of see what kind of Windows 10 applications will be running, if they're going to go into web VR, if they're going to go into social VR. It should be pretty exciting. Let's see. All right. Next piece of news. This is pretty straightforward. Oculus Rift had their price cut by 200. So that's pretty interesting, just because they're getting pretty close to PlayStation VR's price range, even though the quality is a lot higher. I think they, after being on sale for about almost 2 years now, they're kind of seeing where the market's going to go and how much consumers are willing to pay for it. I think I've said it before, but I wish I had a Oculus or Vive compatible computer, because I think the support from developers is more prevalent on those platforms than on PSVR. But we should see how this price drop kind of affects sales for Oculus. I don't know if they've released it, kind of like Sony did last week. I guess I could talk about that since I didn't really talk about it, but they announced that I think it's 915,000 units sold, which is huge. That's a huge number, and it's going to keep growing. They've been out of stock for a while, and I think stores have kind of been resupplying with more PSVRs, so that's going to be huge, just to see more PSVRs out there. And with that number released, hopefully developers are now saying, all right, let's start developing for this device, because I really want it. Like, I want Robo Recall. That would be awesome. Similar kind of to Oculus, HTC announced that they have new payment plans so they're going to remain at the price point at $799. So let's see, one of the price plans is zero financing over 6 months for $138 a month, or you could do a plan where it's $66.58 over 12 months. And then they have a financing plan where it's $7.99, 7.99% for $40.13 a month over 2 years. So this is kind of interesting. They're kind of treating it, I guess, as a car payment. It's more of on a macro level, but I think that's interesting. I think this is more interesting to see than Oculus's price drop of how it can work out. Not familiar with many technology companies doing this with their products, but I think it should be pretty interesting if this system works. There are definitely people smarter out there than me. There are people smarter than me out there that can figure this stuff out and finding the benefits opposed to the costs. But if I had more money, I'd do this plan, especially one of the financing schemes. But it's just kind of nice to be able to not have to pay all of it at once. So I have to dive into more of their logic behind it, but they have smart people working on it, so I'm not going to question it. And then my last piece of news for this week is Oculus's Jason Rubin spoke at GDC, and he described wireless VR technology as compressed, not perfect, and expensive. So it's essentially the wrong direction right now for the industry. He's a very smart man. He's Oculus's VP of content. He's worked in the game industry for who knows how many years. I saw an interview with him on IGN. He knows what he's doing. So I think he knows what's best for the industry. in terms of tethered and untethered, I can agree that right now the issue isn't that there's not much content, it's that there's not developers don't want to jump on board onto platforms that aren't gonna either pay off or showcase the highest quality. And right now, the head-mounted displays, they're not the best. There's definitely gonna need a ramp in quality for that before more developers hop on board, more higher level developers. Kind of like Epic Games, we're starting to see that push. But the NFL is a little hesitant until quality goes up. And numerous companies are just very hesitant about going full board until we see higher end VR at lower prices, because lower prices indicate higher consumer adoption. So he said if we add wireless, he'll add $200 to the price of the headset, and though people will be out there to pay, and realistically, it's just we can remember when the first wireless controllers came out for the Xbox, PlayStation 2, and there were some issues with latency. So I see where he is. I agree where he's going. There's still some issues with tethered headsets that need to be fixed before you can make that jump to wireless. So I think many developers are sticking to mobile VR as their untethered headset. Even though there's not like an aspect of room scaling, it's definitely a viable option in terms of actually being wireless. So who knows? Maybe once we start seeing 4K displays in these headsets, we'll start thinking about cutting the cord between the PCs and the headsets. So, and I think that's it. I tried to look at news from today, and it seemed pretty dry. So, yes, that's this week's report, or I guess the week and a half. That's the most relevant news I found from this weekend from GDC. If I find more, I'll probably throw it in Friday's episode. But yeah, if you like what you're seeing, subscribe, like the video. Hopefully I'll have the next 360 up. And hopefully this is a good week for news. But usually the weeks after conferences are a little dry, so we'll see what happens. But catch you later.